Welcome back to Under Oath. The right to remain silent, the right to say anything, the right to free speech, the First Amendment. Everyone goes out of their way to think that that is the be-all, die-all, end-all right that you have.
It is the first one in the Bill of Rights.
Yeah. The first commandment is, there shall only be one God. Thou shalt not kill is not the first
one.
Is that
the first one?
I think it is.
I don't think that is. What are the 10 commandments? Something Deuteronomy, right?
No, it's in Genesis. It would be in Genesis.
Genesis?
Wouldn't it be the first book?
I don't think so.
That would be the most important. I would think the rules would be the most important. Should I have to go to chapter 2 to find out how to not kill somebody?
No, I think the 10 commandments are in Deuteronomy because I think, didn't Moses bring the 10 commandments down?
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. It's the fifth book? I got to wait till the fifth one? I didn't even read the fifth Harry Potter.
We just get started. Like Adam and Eve, we're just going to start.
We're going to get to the fifth book.
There are no rules when we start. And then as you humans continue to muck things up, well, now we got to come up with rules. Yeah, now we got rules.
So God did this. This guy slept with this guy's wife.
Yeah, don't do that
all this
anymore.
Other stuff.
Don't murder people.
I got to go 300 pages until I find out thou shalt not kill.
You guys are going to take things that didn't belong to you, but okay.
You know what it feels like? It feels like somebody did a chat GPT on the Bible.
Give us 10 commandments. 10,
okay,
15, 12.
10, 15, 12. Right. I think 10 sounds like a good number. You know, it's kind of like when people say something, they go, hey, listen, there are 3 things. Why is it always 3? Is it weird? There are 3 reasons. Everyone always gives 3. The last one always feels like they had to fit something in. Well, I did say 3, so monkeys aren't allowed to eat cucumbers. We'll do that. All right. The reason we're bringing it up, protest in California. Why do I even say that? Because I know it's going to set you off. Protest in California.
Well, what are they protesting in California?
They're blocking streets.
Everything that they want.
Blocking streets. It's got to do something with fur. You know, everything's protected. Like, you can have snakeskin boots in California.
Really?
Used to be a law. You can wear them in, but you can't sell them.
No kidding. Wow, that's
okay. Susan Potter is driving along. A little protest is happening. She didn't like it. So her form of protest is she honks her horn 17 times. I don't know if 4 would have been acceptable. I don't know why 17 was the threshold for her arrest. But she honks her horn.
So first question.
Yeah.
How do the protesters know that she wasn't honking in support of the protest as opposed to against the protest? Was there like a speech? Was somebody giving a speech and she was just driving by honking the horn so you couldn't hear them?
Oh, do you think the protesters are the ones giving out tickets?
No, the police
it's the police officer.
But how did the police know that she wasn't part of the protest?
Cop's sitting there. He's sitting there going, okay, well, what do we fight? Oh, tomatoes? The protest is about tomatoes now? GMO tomatoes, some weird thing. He's sitting there. By the time he got to 17, he was probably going, this is worse than the damn tomatoes. I'm writing her a ticket.
Oh, so the cop got annoyed.
Yes. I just annoyed you with 4. And I promise you, her car was 10 times louder. It's kind of like an OJ. There are like 89 stab wounds, and you do that 10 times. And
there's a law in California. Apparently, you cannot use your car horn except as an audible warning to let people know, hey, I'm about to hit you or move, or part of the theft system.
So safety.
So she wasn't using the horn in the way that California allows you to use car horns.
She's claiming it's a First Amendment right.
So the law is illegal.
The law infringes on her First Amendment rights. Well, I sounded like a lawyer for a second, didn't I?
You almost did.
Craig looked over and goes, holy geez, Jeff practiced law for 10 seconds. It was great.
So she thinks that the First Amendment right is absolute. You can have free speech no matter what.
Honking,
there's no rules.
in response to political protests constitutes protected free speech, demonstrating democracy in action.
That's her argument.
Democracy in action.
That's her argument.
The state of California contends that vehicle code serves public safety. So public safety, in their interpretation,
right,
busts
I
the
don't
privilege.
know if I should be on the lookout for, am I in the wrong lane? I hear a car horn. Is that for me? Is that for you? I'm getting ready to go through the intersection. The light's green, but I hear a car horn. Now it's possibly, is that what their argument is? California's argument is possibly messing up traffic or pedestrians.
It could.
It could, sure.
It could.
I
But
agree.
then you're opening the door to a bunch of stuff. Imagine they have my car circled, and I'm trying to get through this protest. They're sitting in the street, and this is what happens. And you morons who figured out that the only time you use super glue is to super glue yourself to something is making me nuts.
Leave them.
They super glue themselves to the basketball court.
Every time they do that, you should leave them there.
You can't because they're stopping the game.
Just let them sit there.
They do it in
Everyone
the
leaves.
NBA. They stick it and they go blip, and then they're sitting there, wearing me out. I don't like it.
Keep them there. Play
Football
around
game
them.
too.
Play around them.
You can't because then they'll get hurt and they'll get
that'd
sued.
be a more interesting game.
It would, but
We
they
got
get
4
sued.
protesters.
You know what would happen. You know exactly what would happen.
No, once you glue yourself
would
to
get
the
hurt.
ground. No, once you glue yourself to the ground, that's consent. You are consenting.
Well, you're consenting.
To whatever happens to you
You're
after
consenting
that.
to get run over.
Yes.
People do dumb things all the time. The question is, do they deserve the level of damages they would get from something? Oh, we're just going to leave this. It's a football game. We're just going to let 8 guys weighing 300 pounds run over this guy. We're not going to allow that. Now, let's talk about something because here's the thing. Flag burning. Supreme Court a long time ago said it's fine. It's protected under free speech. Even though it's going to incite violence, we're going to allow it. Now, this is where things get off the rail for me because depending on what's popular is sometimes the way we enforce and we even write our laws now. I mean, we were here in our buildings about during the after the Floyd issue, and our lives were in jeopardy here. Security came up and told us we need to evacuate the building because some of the protesters have said they're going to come into the building and kill us. I was going, well, that doesn't sound right. So we closed our offices down. We've only been closed like during one hurricane.
Yeah.
But in the years we've been open, but I remember thinking to myself, wow, that doesn't seem right. And then you had the thing that happened in Washington, D.C., where, the protesters, they took over the Capitol. And I've got to tell you, watching some dumpy white guys in ripped jeans, sitting in congressmen's offices, doing anything else. I understand this was the worst tragedy that's ever happened to our country.
You don't believe that was an actual insurrection? Are you saying that you don't believe that our entire military, the Army, the Navy, the Marines, they were almost defeated with a bunch of unarmed, chubby guys
wearing Viking hats?
Wearing yes,
you do realize
the Viking hat.
If anybody with a straight face can say that to me, they've never been robbed.
No.
I mean, if somebody comes in with a gun into your place, you're a little scared.
No, you're making a good point, though. Nobody thought that was actually an insurrection. They pretended to think it was an insurrection so that they could freak out over it, so that they could get the headlines, so that they could just use it for political gain over and over and over again.
Do you know the time these people have done? The time that people have been actually sentenced to prison.
Any of them, maybe one. I don't think any of them have been actually convicted.
Oh, they've been prison. They've been sentenced.
Insurrection.
They've been for everything. Other
trespassing.
Some of them wound up doing 5 years. 5 years. We have people who actually hit people with baseball bats. Don't get 5 years.
Yeah.
So why do you think we were so disgusted? Is that the time we go, oh, this is a house that deserves respect? This is a house of this. I had a president.
No, it's totally political. Totally political.
I would say our last 4 presidents.
Whoever happened to be in charge, it was up to them what was going to be the response, and we all saw it.
I think our last 4 presidents, I've kind of looked at, I've gone, what did that guy say? Whether a Republican or Democrat, we all realize we are in this clown car going off the cliff like Thelma and Louise. I mean, it just feels like we are saying and doing things that we feel so stupid about. Facts, issues like this. She's honking the horn. She's mad. She gets a ticket. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Miss Porter, I'm going to tell you right now. It's a ticket. Walk it off. It's not a misdemeanor.
No, you can't just walk it off. If you think
It's a ticket.
if you think your government is
My
stopping
government gave me a ticket.
if you think your government is stopping you
Walk
from
it off.
exercising your free speech, you have an obligation to challenge them
How many times have we been in a courtroom where a judge has done something absolutely wrong?
all the time.
Okay. How'd that free speech go for you?
We don't have free speech in that situation.
I don't have free speech
Not in
when
that
I'm talking
situation.
to an elected official?
Not in a courtroom.
Oh.
Not in a courtroom.
So we do take our rights away.
There are yes.
All
If
the
you were
time.
listening, I'd said early on, your right to free speech is not absolute. There are certain situations where you can't say what you want.
If I
to
tell
say.
a judge he's wrong, what can happen to me? I can go to prison for telling another individual he's not
No,
right.
it depends on how you tell them.
What if? How about you
How
wrong,
you
MF?
tell them. Yeah, that's the wrong way to tell them.
I can't call somebody an MF.
No.
I can go to prison for calling somebody an MF.
Yes.
See, that's
not
what's wrong.
because you called somebody an MF.
Because that particular person's an MF. That
Because-
particular person is so important that I can't call him an MF.
Correct. Because we need for all of us, including you, to have some certain respect and decorum for certain
Oh.
institutions,
So the institutions,
such as the judiciary.
what about the presidency? I don't
it
deserve
should be
respect
that
for the
way too,
presidency.
but nobody.
What about a
gets-
senator? So some hokey judge in the middle of nowhere who got elected by 12 people.
Yeah, but you can't run into the halls of Congress during session and start saying all of those things.
If I see a judge,
improper.
if I saw a judge on the street, I couldn't do it.
No, because you're an attorney. If you saw a judge on the street as a regular citizen, you could say, hey, you're the crappiest judge I've ever seen, and they wouldn't be able to do anything about it.
But in a courtroom, I'm
You
going to
can't
prison.
do that in the courtroom.
Going to prison. So First Amendment rights, when people don't look at that and they go, well, I should be able to do what I want to do because my voice is my voice. Well, I can get sued. I could go to prison.
Yeah, you can't libel, you can't slander, you can't make fraudulent statements. Like I can't use my free speech to convince you that I own this Corvette and you can buy it for $1,000. I've just defrauded you out of $1,000. There's all types of ways that people make arguments to say that, oh, well, it's all free speech. It's not. This country has never, ever, ever, America has never, ever said that you have an absolute right to say whatever you want, whenever you want to say it. That's never been the case.
We'll take your freedom. We'll take your money. Do a lot of things to you. Maybe the point is of all this is that we're allowed to protest. Sometimes it requires us to get a license. Sometimes we got to get a permit. Sometimes we can just walk down a street. When do you get to a point where people go, okay, civil disobedience is an interesting term. I don't quite know the definition of it. I wish I did. As an
Well, that's
attorney,
probably a different definition for every single instant where civil disobedience
if
is
I break the
practiced.
law, it sounds like criminal disobedience.
Right. Well, I mean, that
Civil implies that there's
well,
there's
you're
cash.
causing
Or,
a problem and you're forcing the police to arrest you over an issue that wouldn't normally be taken very seriously. For example, if you and I and 7,000 other people decided
it's a lot of people.
at 12 o'clock from 12
All
to
my Facebook followers.
12:20, we're just going to jaywalk across Orange Avenue that entire time.
And stay in the street.
Well, we're going to go slow. We're going to go really, really
It takes
slow.
us an hour to walk.
And like
12 feet.
we can just form a circle and just keep on
Like lemons.
Yes. And we could shut down, and that wouldn't normally, if I was just jaywalking, that normally wouldn't be a problem. But we're going to do it until we force the police to arrest us. We want to be arrested. That's the point of civil disobedience. Get arrested to bring attention to an issue.
But why is it called civil? It's not civil.
Well, it is in that you're not forcing police to arrest you for the fact that you're doing something violent. Like we're not setting buildings on fire. Of course, you're going to arrest us if we're setting buildings on fire. We're doing something that if I did it all by myself, normally I wouldn't be arrested. I might not even get a warning most of the time if I was doing it just by myself. If I jaywalked across Orange Avenue right now, I could probably do it 30 times and nothing's going to happen to me. But if all 7,000 of your friends and I collude with each other to walk in such a way that we effectively shut down the road, well, then they have to do something if we're not going to stop.
You know, when I think about civil disobedience, I think about the old videos during the civil rights movement where, they'd break out the hoses and, the police officers, shoot at unarmed people, do these things. I mean, is there a point where we go, we're slowly not going to, we're going to allow people to do whatever they want to do and get away with it? I mean, if you're a police officer now, you go, well, if I do something wrong, I can get sued. If I move somebody wrong, I didn't do my job if they broke their leg. If I did anything. And it's a stupid argument. Well, it's, let's just say, an unpopular discussion to have when you're lawyers who represent people who get hurt all the time.
Well, right. It's the public officials being cowards and not enforcing the laws of their community. Once again, it's compassion to the criminal, and which is cruelty to the victim. There's lots of people who need to get to work. There's lots of people who need to make deliveries. There's all kinds of reasons for a road to be open. And when you decide that you're going to go on, sit on the road and block traffic, you are deciding that your right to protest, your right to free speech is more important than anybody else's right to use that road, to get to where they're going, to get to their job, to get to their hospital, to get to their courtroom, whatever business that they were conducting. You've decided whatever issue is most important to you is now going to be everybody else's priority issue today.
Here's the problem, and this is something I don't know how to get around. There's a cost to everything. To enforce a law, to enforce jaywalking or whatever we want to call it, and the potential risk of screwing up and hoping that the police officers do everything they're supposed to be doing, and that there's not a $10 million judgment and everything else against them, and that $10 million now we have to have less police, we can't pay for services, we can't do this, all to stop people from protesting, other than if this happened while I was chasing a murderer. For example, we don't have high-speed pursuits anymore because we think it's too dangerous.
They're rare. They're very rare, and they have to follow a lot of rules.
I mean, and that's only because they don't want to get sued. It's not for the public safety.
Yeah.
So we've decided we have to alter the way we enforce the law to protect the city's money.
Correct.
Wow. Now,
and when
do you realize how crazy that statement is?
To protect the city's money is to make sure that other innocent citizens don't get hurt.
By not being able to pay for services.
Right. Right, because if you don't have the money to pay for the ambulances and the police, what's going to happen? You're going to have more crime. And your citizens overall are going to generally have a worse living condition.
Now, certain states don't allow what they call state sovereignty, which means the ability to sue the state when they when they do a bad act, or where they fail to follow a duty and that duty causes a harm to somebody. Certain states don't have that. For example, California, that millions of dollars the city could wind up paying. While Florida, it's, what's a cap? 200 and 250?
200, 300. Yeah.
Yeah, so 200, 300 per 200 per individual, 300 total. So the city can afford to go, we could screw up. It's only going to cost us $300,000.
The most it's going to cost us is 200 for any one person or 300 for any one particular incident.
Now, do you think that's a good thing?
I do. I do in theory, because you have to have some sort of limit. Otherwise, the politicians and the police and they're going to be too afraid to engage in anything.
But you and I both know, let's say a life. You lose a life because of it. Terrible police officer, terrible history, everything else like this, a little bit racist. Shoots an African-American kid. Clearly out of stupidity, shoots him in the back of the head, stole a tip jar.
All right.
Oh, here's your $200,000. You and I both know that amount is not a deterrent to stop that from happening again. And the only way to get around it is in the state of Florida, you can pass a bill through Congress to get more money. But outside of that, do you think it should be limited? And let's say you take a life, we should extend that.
You prove all those facts just the way you've said it, just the way you laid it out, just like that.
Just the way I laid it out.
Let's say you prove all of that.
All of it.
And a jury says, okay, that is so disgusting. $300 million to the family, whatever amount.
Yeah.
You couldn't say an amount that would satisfy You know what I mean? If it was my kid, 300 million is nothing. I don't want the stupid money. I want my kid to be alive, right? So there's no amount of money. So, but the jury tries to figure it out. They struggle. They say 300 million, right? You take the 300 million from what? Where are you getting the 300 million? You're taking it from everybody. It's all tax money. So when I paid the 300 million because of this one bad officer, yeah, that amount is not obscene.
Well, normally it's the
or
insurance company's money.
unreasonable,
Normally it's the insurance
but
company's money.
now I don't have enough money to pay the police to do any job. And forget having one cop out of 1,000 that are derelict. Now I don't even have the 1,000 cops because I can't afford any of them.
But there's no
Because I
punishment.
had to pay 300 million.
But no punishment.
There is punishment.
What,
You talking about the
300,000?
state? The
300,000?
200,000?
Nobody
The
cares.
200,000.
You and I have had cases where, for
Well,
example,
I mean, hold on. In that scenario that you laid out, that cop is being prosecuted criminally.
well, maybe
He's
not.
getting punished.
Maybe not.
He's probably going to prison.
Maybe not.
I'm talking
Depends
about,
on the city
I'm
you're
talking
in.
about like the city in general, and having $200,000 come out of their budget. That is a punishment.
In the end, what we're figuring out is that in the case of Susan Porter, with her honking the horn, the real argument in this case is what we hope is that they're not selectively charging her or ticketing her because they didn't like what she had to say. In other words, I'm not supporting this protest. I'm going to be angry. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And we hope that doesn't happen. But in the same case, listen, if I'm in my house and you're honking that horn 17 times, do me a favor. Just go somewhere else. You didn't go to the area to protest. You go to the area because you go, I'm upset. I'm gonna just do this. Walk it off and pay the ticket.